Welcome back to the More Smarter Show, the #1 business mindset and strategy podcast. This is episode 41 with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
I'm so excited for today. We have my good buddy, Taylor Sevik. Taylor is a real estate agent in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So we're in New Jersey, Dylan and I. We're also real estate agents and real estate professionals. So Taylor, welcome and introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, guys. I really enjoy listening to your show, the previous episode. So I appreciate you having me on. It's also really cool to see how you have, transitioned from your career like I have. And so I'm just really excited to be chatting with you guys today.
Yeah, so Taylor, not only did he answer every email that we have leading up to this episode, which is hey, just a reminder, on Wednesday we're recording and all these other things we have that we think are more smarter, but he replied to everything and showed up to this call before us. And Taylor, I don't know if you saw it last episode, but our previous guest didn't show up. This was last week or last episode, and it's left a terrible taste in my mouth. So I know you're a great realtor just on how you showed up to this call.
Perks of being type A.
I feel that.
Appreciate it.
I mean, getting into your story a little bit, you're 3 years into being a realtor?
Yep, going on my 4th year now. So last year was my 3rd full year. So I previously worked in higher education. So I was at Rutgers, actually. Got my master's at Rutgers up in Jersey, and then came back and worked for Towson University, obviously where Jake and I went and did undergrad. So it was a really great transition coming back. And then I oversaw fraternity and sorority life there. And so it was my passion. I thought that I was going to be a dean of students one day. I thought that it was going to work my way up, get my doctorate. And then like many of, like everyone, 2020 happened and my whole world shifted, right? Like I sat and realized maybe this isn't my forever career. And I realized I was working an insane amount of hours. 50% of the time I was going to be wrong, telling someone, following a policy or something and making no money. And so I was like, what am I doing at this time? Like I just kind of had that full time to sort of reevaluate my life. And it was really helpful that my boss at the time, she also was in a similar place where she was kind of exploring kind of what her next steps would be. She does social media full time now. So when I left Towson, she left like 8 days later. So she didn't last too long without me. But yeah, Towson's really been the foundation of what my business is and sort of everyday life, whether it's personal or professional, it's kind of all intertwined because of Towson.
I love that. So we are similar in that way, Taylor, where we are both from education and COVID kind of hit us different, where we started looking in the mirror and being like, hey, what are we doing here? Just perspective, I guess. And you probably agree with me here that I never disliked my job. I actually enjoyed it, which actually kept me there, which actually made everything more difficult. If I hated it, it would be easy to leave. But I just thought I could do more in this world and I could be challenging myself more.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. I mean, it's not to be dramatic, but having that conversation with Carly, who was my former boss, like I was super emotional about it. I was confident in my decision, but I also loved my job. I loved the students. I really felt like every single day when I woke up, I was making an impact with the students and doing important work with risk management, with diversity, but also just being there as a good advisor for the students. And so what's been really nice that I realized is that my former students have been the best thing for my business because many of them have bought their first homes with me or they've gotten me connected to their families or friends. And so really trying to stay connected or seeing things that they're doing in their life and kind of celebrating it. So just as they've had, engagements or certain things, just kind of trying to do some of those niceties. And I still go back to Towson. I still volunteer as much as possible. I still volunteer for Theta Chi. It'll always be a passion for me. It's just, this is a new avenue that I'm able to kind of chase after, I guess.
So how did you see that real estate was going to be something that you wanted to pursue during that time?
It's a great question. So I'm pretty lucky that one of my college roommates, his wife was in real estate. We were in the same friend group in Baltimore, and I'd referred her like 4 or 5 deals, just saying like, "Hey, you should use her. You should use her. You should use her." And she was like, "You might want to think about getting your license." And so she is on the team that I'm on now, and so just having a conversation with Natalie more about it, but then talking with Veronica, who's my team leader, I just realized it was the right space for me. And it allowed me to kind of, one, get my license to even see if I enjoyed what the concepts are, topics are. I mean, as you know, Jake, it's a totally different industry. So like just the language and the lingo, there was so much of a learning curve with it all. But once I realized, I kind of enjoyed this. This seems like something that I could really take off with. And then I got my license in January, but I left Towson in August. I had made my Towson salary in that period doing it part-time. And that's why I was like, what am I sort of doing here?
Yeah.
Does it really make sense anymore to stick
I
it through
feel
another
that.
semester?
I feel that. So Taylor, in real estate, I always like to talk about my unfair advantage. I look for that. I seek in every conversation what I have as versus someone who might be competing with me in an unfair way. To put myself ahead. I think that my unfair advantage in most conversations I get into is that I have 8 years experience being a teacher. I have, I could take a punch to the face. I could discipline. I could stay poised during a weird situation. You feel that way as well?
1000%, but I think it allows me to be adaptable as well, because the same way that I
Yep.
would advise one student wasn't the same way that I would advise a different student. So it's the same way of working with a first-time home buyer or someone that's downsizing after 50 years, right? You just adapt that approach and utilize the emotional intelligence of it all to kind of do that. But I think all of the foundation of what teaching and advising is allows us to be successful in the real estate lens.
So in other words, you also didn't create lesson plans, and I didn't either, and that's what has us being adaptable.
1000%. Actually doing the work and kind of figuring out what the impact is and the outcome is more important than doing those little lesson plans.
Now, as you kind of grow into this new role, so wait, you started real estate in January and then you left 8 months later your job, so you were doing both. There was
Yeah,
an
so I did
overlap.
it part-time for about like 6 months or so, and I had some success with it and closed some deals, and I was like, there's a real possibility with this. And I already, since we weren't really, unfortunately, since we don't make that much money in education, I already knew that I could get by on doing, a little bit less. So that's why I was like, I felt comfortable leaving. But really, I never took a day off at Towson during my, 4 years that I was there. So I had about a 3-month period where I got paid out on my sick days and vacation that I was able to use as my buffer for that fall period while things kind of really were getting going and business was getting steady.
Nice. It's such a similar story with Jake.
Yeah.
I remember when I first met Jake, he was telling me, we were at a baseball game, and he was telling me that, yeah, I'm a teacher, but I'm also doing this real estate thing, and I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, oh, so you're like a part-time realtor? He's like, no, I'm a full-time realtor. I'm a full-time realtor and a full-time teacher. I'm like, how does that work? How does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
mean, you have to be.
Giving yourself the space to do it, right? So I think when you're doing it part-time, it's your priority most of the time is somewhere else. You're with the students, you're with in a meeting or where you're at. Whereas when you're the full-time agent, you have the availability to kind of show up when it matters and I build my schedule around the clients, around the people, right? So when we're working, people don't want to be working. So
Yeah. So let's stay there. What I thought would be a really awesome topic to get into is leads. And as real estate agents, we all have a leads problem until we have too many leads, right? And leads is money. But taking a lead from lead to close. Now, Taylor, you're on a team. Is that correct? You're still on a
yeah,
team?
yep.
Okay, so you're on a team within a brokerage, and for anyone who's not in real estate, that just means like it's almost a brokerage within a brokerage. It's like the advantages of that are you probably get some support, you probably get some training, you probably get some leads, and some collaboration. And the disadvantages might be you have to pay for that, where there's your split is a little compromised from that. So Dylan and I, neither of us are currently on a team. We both started on a team, but we're not there. So again, back to the lead situation. How does that look like for you?
Yeah. So, well, one, I don't think I could have transitioned into real estate without being on a team. Being on a team was sort of instrumental in just knowing what to do and having sort of that person in my back pocket to be able to help. Leads are an interesting topic. So our team, they have tried different things with paying for leads and sort of things, but we are a sphere team, which means that we really focus on doing touch points with the people in our life and really building it from there. So I sold 40 homes last year. None of them came from leads from the team. They all came sort of from my sphere. This year, I did get a lead from my team leader, Veronica. We got a call about one of our listings, and it led to a $2.5 million transaction that I closed on. So just by her answering the phone for one of her listings. But when we tried Mavoto with some of them, and I know that there's some other ones that they've tried for like lead programs, and it just wasn't for me. It was not how I wanted to run my business. I've never cold called, build the relationship. So trying to call someone randomly or trying to get them to convince them to use it was a lot different of approach than using people in my life or showing up in a way that can be that resource to there. So I'm just more comfortable in this lens. And I felt like there's more scalability with this, with also being able to create my own schedule. Leads are a little bit more challenging with creating, obviously, your schedule because you want to get out there when you can. Still do that, obviously, for my clients now, but I'm able to be intentional with it and really do that time blocking where it's like, all right, I know I've got to show these clients this, I've got this listing appointment. Whereas the lead piece, get that lead right now. Someone call me in the middle of this. And if you are needing that next deal to pay your bills, you're going to drop everything, right? And so it's just a little bit hard to really be intentional, but also present. I think sometimes throughout the day, that was my issue. Was I felt like I was the couple months that we did it, I was like not on my, I was like trying to get to my phone, but I was in the middle of something, so I just wasn't doing the type of work or the caliber of work that I want to think that I could be doing. So this sphere piece will be how I will grow my business continuously, and I think it's a good way to be sustainable for a lot of people.
There's so many great touch points there to work off of right now. But to stay on the lead part, it's something that Jake, whenever I have like a problem deal going on, something that Jake always says, and I bring it up to Jake, and he's like, "Where'd you get the lead from? Like, where is this person from?"
That's the
And
first question always.
I'll
Yeah.
never have a problem if it's a sphere client, if it's someone that's actually in my life, family, friend, whatever. And but if it's a Zillow lead or if it's something else, there's always something that goes wrong. And it's just so important to like kind of just work your business around people that you know, like, and trust already.
When it's also trying to create what my professional brand is too, I think that you're trying to tailor it to an individual that may be a lead that just is not someone that we want to work with, right? I think we're, especially as real estate agents, we're told that we should work with every single person. And I think that obviously I want to help everyone buy and sell in Maryland, but we know that there's some of those challenging transactions, but also sometimes my values don't align, right? So sometimes at a listing appointment, there is power in saying, I don't know that we align. I don't think that happens, a lot, but that's what I've appreciated about my team leader is that her approach is very humanistic, right? And so it's very much like trust your gut, trust how you're doing it. Obviously, if I give her a reason to not let be trustworthy, but I think it's a matter of allowing us to have our licensure with how we create and how we work with our own clients.
I love what you're saying. It's really interesting because I think, Taylor, the difference between us is at like the 7-minute mark of this podcast. If I didn't know you, I would like you. And I don't know that I would dish that same off to someone to a stranger. I don't know if they would like me after 7 minutes. So for me, it's like super important that we need to know each other. I need to be personally referred to them or know them in some capacity, at least follow me on social media. Whereas if like versus cold calling or some other random lead source. But you are, I think, the opposite. I mean, I think you would work well in that setting, but it sounds like you don't want to play that game either.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because now that luckily that business has gone well, my clients are referring me to their people, right? And so now it's kind of that 10th degree of the sphere. So like I just had a listing appointment in Ellicott City for this really nice house. And I was telling them, my relationship with the client that referred to you matters to me, right? And so I need to do a good job for them so that way it doesn't have that impact on the other client. And at the end of the day, like, and I truly mean this when I say this, to not sound corny, it's like I care about you on a human level, right? I want the best possible outcome. When I go to a listing appointment or something, it may not be the best thing for them to sell, right? It may be, what are we able to do to figure out to sort of create that? But showing up also authentic can be hard too sometimes because I also want to. Sometimes my personality can be a lot sometimes, and so I try to also be mindful of that in the rooms that I'm in or the situations, and try to sort of, depending on who I'm working with, tailor it in a specific way, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And that's what builds the trust, and that's what, gets you to the point that you're at right now. And I think this is a good touch point where you're staying on the working with clients and whether or not you're choosing your clients. So on your application, you went from your first year, you did 7 million in sales, and then now to your third year, 17.8 million, which is an insane jump. But in the application, which I was so confused about, you said in 3 years from now, you want to do 20 million, which is only whatever that is, $2.2 million more than what you did this year. Is that a plateau that you maybe think you can't cross? Or are you cutting yourself off on the sphere clients that you really want to work with?
It's a really good question. I think if I'm being honest, it's a way of me trying to be a little humble sometimes. I think that this is so such a new experience for me. And also, sharing production or sharing things or sharing, especially when I'm on a team and other individuals are doing, different production, but they're working just as hard. Right. So I try to be mindful of that. Like I think at this point I've done about 6 million this year, 5.5 million this year. So I think I'll hit 20 million this year. Obviously the market is a little challenging right now, and rates have went up and things like that. But at the end of the day, back to what Jake was saying, like people are always going to have to buy and sell. So it's building those relationships that when they do have to, I'm the one that they're thinking of, right? And so no matter how challenging the market gets, there will always be those life experiences where people have to sell, people have to move, people have to go. So I continuously try to be top of mind for the people that are not only on my social media, but in my everyday life, and just sort of incorporating it. I don't go into every conversation being like, I'm a realtor, but I send them something nice about, hey, congrats on getting engaged. The first thing that they're going to ask me is, well, how's life going? How's business? Oh, and that's how I'm able to sort of incorporate the conversation and make it seem not so salesy.
Yeah, comes from a place of value. We're big on that. Like we don't say, hey, circling back or following up. Like, yo, it's an opening night tonight, Yankees Giants. Like Aaron Judge to get a home runs plus 200. You should bet it. That's our style. Like that's what it is, because that's really us. It's being authentic.
And not only going to them when you're looking for something, right? Obviously, when we're doing these touch points, there's the hope that there's going to be sort of that outcome, but having those touch points throughout, it's why I do Popeyes throughout the year and just drop things off to clients or things like that, just so that way, they can see that value, but also they don't feel like it's only like I'm trying to get something from them.
Of course. Yes, totally. So how the hell are you doing 40 deals in a year?
So it's interesting because I talk with Natalie, who's on my team. She's one of my best friends. She's why I'm in real estate. But Natalie is a wife. Natalie is a mother. Natalie has a whole other component of like her identity that takes up her time, right? I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids, right? So my life allows me to grind and to get out there and put this first. And so this is really allowing me to create a life that I never even thought would be a possibility for me. And so my life structure allows me, one, to be able to get out there every night, every other weekend. Like I'm not home any nights this week, which, is just a part of the gig, right? But also it's the support. I'm lucky that I do get some support, some support from our transaction coordinator. Whenever I need something, they're able to really show up for me, but also utilizing my team. Sometimes I gotta, hey, I've got an appointment over here. Can someone go show this house to my clients over there? And so one of my teammates are able to do so. So that's what's nice about having some newer agents that are just looking for things to be a part of. So the support piece of it all, I think that one of the things that I'm really trying to focus on this year is really what this whole podcast is about, is right. What are those areas that I can be streamlining? What are those areas? Is this the best use of my time right now? Because I'm realizing how quickly, obviously, the day can go. And so if I don't time block my day, it's going to get away from me. I have pretty bad ADHD. So morning time is my, administrative work. I get all my stuff that I possibly can before I even get out for the day. And that just allows me to be a little bit more focused and present, and go out there and do sort of those things. But also not, even though as busy as I got, my best month, I closed 10 deals, and it was a lot, but I never made it feel like I had 10 deals going on to the other clients. They always felt like they were the top priority, because they were. It just, I had other priorities too that they just didn't need to, so it's just something it's a balancing act, and I'm still getting used to it.
That's some of the hardest bars you kind of just dropped right there, is like, it's hard to manage all that. And it's even harder to let, not let that affect anything else that's kind of going on, and having the ability to be working a lot and knowing, like in your mind, right, where I'm in a similar spot where I feel like I'm working a lot, and my friends aren't home. I'm just kind of like working. I'm working every single like weekend and all that sort of stuff. Do you think to yourself like, hey, this is just a phase, and I just need to grind this out, and then in 3 years, I'll be in a different spot?
I think about this a lot. Because I know that also what I'm doing right now is not sustainable for the next 10 years, right? This is very much a unique period of time where I'm building something that I am excited about, but I do think it's going to be at a place where I get to a level where I have the support too, that I'm able to still prioritize the life of it all. And I think that that's what's so unique about working with the Sphere, is that sometimes I don't feel like I'm working, because I'm this evening I'm showing my fraternity brother, some houses. So I'm going out with him and his wife. And so I'm hanging out with friends while working too. So obviously not everything is like that, but it's the same thing of like when going to weddings or going to these important life sort of things. It's important to sort of show up, but also just realizing that it's not forever. Because I also would like to find a partner one day. I also would like to, focus on the personal side of things. And I would be lying to you and said if I put any effort into personal side of things last year, right? There was not that balance. And also I didn't structure it that way. There was no balance because I didn't want there to be balance, truthfully.
Yeah, it's so awesome that you're so aware of that, though, because we talk about the 6 F's on this podcast a lot: future, friends, family, finances, et cetera, and being well balanced. And that's super important to us. And that's essentially the premise of the More Smarter show. But people think in life, like if someone is a smoker, for example, they'll be like, oh, I'll stop smoking when I'm an adult. Or, oh, and then when they're an adult, oh, I'll stop smoking when I have a kid. Oh, I'll stop smoking when the kid is 18. And it's as if people think they could just turn a switch and it just goes off. And I, I guess I'm sharing advice, but you're not going to be able to just flip that switch and all of a sudden hire your whole team out in one day. So at what point are you going to, really reflect on that?
Well, I think that that's also what's beneficial about working with Veronica. So Veronica is my team leader. She's been in the business for 25 years. She has built a beautiful life with her family. Her husband works for our team. She has 2 kids, and being able to see the way that she's done it as well, learn from her in that, but also have that mentor, have that role model to have conversations about that. Because I also don't know what this looks like for me because I'm really happy. I'm really happy on this team. I'm really happy with Veronica. Obviously I think about what the future could look like, but be, developing that personal relationship with Veronica. I'm going to Vegas in 3 weeks because her daughter turns 21. So like there's those pieces of things where like she is such an important figure in my life that it also allows me to focus on just what this is at this moment and do it really well, while also sort of thinking about what the future is and having conversations with her. And I think she's really good at getting me connected with people to have conversations or to have other people that are successful in the industry, in ways that she's sort of done it, because she's built her business very similar to how I have, solely based off of the sphere component of things. And her business has elevated a lot over the years, as she, joined a country club and certain things that has been really great for her business. But having that role model and just being able to see it, because I think if we were to have this conversation this time next year, it could be totally different, right? About where I'm at. But I think it'll just be a matter of at the end of this year, really taking inventory on what did my year look like? How could it have been better? And also like where are areas that I could be happier at too. Because I think that the happier I am, the better agent that I am, the better that I show up.
Yep.
And this real estate my Towson job really made me happy. I really felt fulfilled, and I felt like the relationships that I met were really meaningful. But the financial vulnerability and the stress and the component of like the life that also was having is totally different. So I just think I'm much happier now in a way that I never thought was a possibility, just because of the experience and the opportunities that real estate just gives us different opportunities than education does.
Now, this is something that I feel I always differ from Jake. And where you almost went back and forth with it, where you're caring about like the happiness, right? Like that's definitely a massive component to life and life in being, I guess, just your own business owner. But you also were saying in the beginning of that there was no balance at all. So there's the back and forth where, oh yes, I want to be happy, and maybe working a lot still gives you happiness because you're working with the people that like, and but what kind of thought process do you have where you're just not gonna, like Jake was saying with the switch, you're not gonna be able to flip the switch. You're not gonna be able to just become not working harder anymore and just be happy. So I don't even know what my question is here, but I'm
I
just
get
like,
it. Yeah, I get it.
No, I
Yeah.
completely get sort of what you're saying. And I think that the way that I look at it right now, and you're absolutely right, I kind of went back and forth, is that there's a component, if it was like a pie, right? There's a full quarter of my life that is missing, that I just am not sort of experiencing on that personal side right now, right? And I think that is something that'll be added in. But I think that day-to-day life while creating, while the grind piece, because other things that will come obviously on the personal side, I made a ton of friends and obviously all the great things, but I also think that it's about being intentional. I'm going to have to also do the time blocking. It's something that I'm going to have to do for the personal side of things, which sounds ridiculous, but it's no different than this year. I came into it really wanting to work out more, focused on sort of doing that. I always, would just wake up and get right into my day because I felt like I had to do all of the work. But I was intentional. I joined Merit. I signed up for a trainer two times a week, which I wouldn't have been able to have done in education. But I feel the difference in that, adding that piece to sort of my life. And so it's something that I also, like Jake was saying, I am aware of it, right? I talk about it in therapy a lot. Therapy is like sort of my business coach at this point, but I talk a lot about what that looks like, right? And so I know that, and I also personally am okay sort of with it because I think the reason that I was able to do 40 last year in my third year was also because I had sort of that no distraction piece of things where I was always sort of out there in those streets.
And that's cool. Really awesome to know where you are in life, right? So I house hack still, right? I have someone living downstairs, but I don't have kids. In 5 years, if I have kids, I'm not gonna have a stranger live downstairs on Airbnb. And I'm fully aware that this is the moment of my life that I can make this money. And it sounds similar to your business, and I think that's totally cool. I actually think that is the more smarter way to know that, hey, I'm not working more smarter in all things of my life, but I'm aware of it and I want to be, but I will get there. We're only in our 30s. Dylan's freaking like 18 or something.
I could tell. No, just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Well, I want to go back to something that you just said, the house hack thing, right? I'm sitting in a house right now. I bought it last year in April. I would not have been able to have bought a house if I was still by myself working education, but I bought a multifamily in Canton. So my main level and upstairs got 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. So it's great for me. And then when you go out back, you're able to get into a 1 bedroom apartment downstairs that has a kitchen, washer and dryer, living room, all the things, but she can't get into my house from the inside. So there used to be stairs right here. They blocked it off. So my plan is to only hopefully be here through the rest of this year. And then I will move out, hopefully get my next property and be able to rent both of these out. But I think going back to the happiness piece, buying a house has really made me happy. That's been a big piece that I talked to my therapist about, is like hobbies, right? Trying to figure out, okay, if I'm not actually working or filling every hour of the day, what does sort of that look like? And buying a house and being creative and being able to set things up has been a really fun thing for me, and really something that has been good avenue to, and also just great things to learn from a realtor perspective of just
Yeah.
like things in a house and all the things that, experience. So I feel a lot also, that was a big confidence piece for me. I felt like a little bit of a fraud, but prior to last April when I was selling all these homes, but I was renting an apartment, right? So it might have been like the only time that I would lie to people, but they'd be like, "Oh, where do you live?" I'd like, "Own a home over there." But so it's a lot easier to be like, "This is what it is," and so it just feels like I have a little bit more depth to what I'm saying because I'm actually walking the walk.
It's absolutely so true. Like can you imagine me in that situation where it's like I've never even rented an apartment before. I don't even know what that feels like. But I am in this very similar spot where I closed 30 deals prior to even like owning a house, and I'm
Huge,
actually
man.
closing on a house today, and that's my like first ever purchase. But where for you now, you are able to kind of just be the guy. Now you have the credibility not only in the deals that you've closed and the experience that you have, but now on the investor side too, where you're I would consider you a real estate investor. You're house hacking, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's what probably one of the things that I'm most proud of is what you were saying is I do feel like I've become that guy for the people in my life. I think that there isn't anyone in my life at this point that doesn't know that I'm a realtor, right? Or at least cross their mind when they're trying to think about it. Not everyone obviously, chooses to, everyone knows a realtor a lot of times, but it's cool to just see sort of how it still shows up for them.
So I don't know your team leader or your brokerage or we're 3 states away, right? So I'm prefacing that with what I'm about to say. You should leave the team. That's totally, overstepping. I get it. I don't know everything that goes on there, but you see, if you're closing 40 deals, like you don't think you can hire a transaction coordinator or a showing assistant on your own?
Yeah. And I think, but also I do think that there, 3 years is a lot of time, but 3 years also isn't a lot of time, right? I think coming from a totally different industry, that every day is something different, right? So, I think it goes back to also just the culture of it all. I think that one of the things that I know for sure is that like Compass is probably going to be my only stop for a brokerage. Obviously, I don't know what the future looks like, but I am very happy with where Compass is going, but also what Compass has done since I joined, 3 years ago. I love the fact that it's a real estate company, but also a tech company. So like the tech side of things really feels, high level, but also I think that there's a real vision for where they can go. And also I feel like the CEO really actually shows up for the agents. And so a lot of so like out of the 40 deals, a large amount of them came from, not a large, a handful of them came from Compass referrals. And so that's why I go, we have a retreat every year. This year it's in NOLA. Last year it was in Denver. But because we're close to the government here, so my office, I live in Baltimore, but I go into Ellicott City, which is about 30 minutes from here. On the way home, it's a lot more now that the bridge fell down. But going over there, we're so close to the government. So people are always going to be moving to Maryland. People are always going to be leaving Maryland. So it's been really great to build those relationships with each people across the country. And also when my friends are moving, then it's like, great, I've got my point of contact, in each of the states.
Dylan and I think about this a lot. We talk about this a lot. So again, 10-year age gap between Dylan and I. So it's really cool to connect with him for that because of the differences. But we were both on a team and we both just basically separately, I did this first, but I'm like, you know what? I was on a team, all good things, all the things you're saying, I totally agreed with. I had all that support. I really liked the people. And then I left because I was like, you know what? They're still my friends. I could still go to Vegas with them. We could still collaborate. I just don't have to pay them. And I get to start my own group. So then I started inviting agents into a Tuesday morning call. And we had up to 8, maybe, Dylan, right? 10 agents just collaborating. And again, not paying each other. Some were at different brokerages, some were at our brokerage. We're all in the area. We all just collabed. We all covered each other open houses. And then I hired a TC. My wife doesn't count. But anyway, hired a TC. And now I use showing assistants. And I swung and missed 1,000 times. I mean, I overpaid. I was paying someone 50% for showings. I've made mistakes. But I have gotten farther because I made those mistakes.
Yeah, and I think that there's two things that you said. I that's impressive that you were able to do that. I think I also need to get comfortable letting go. I think that that's something also because I'm so type A, I think that I have such a hold on it. But I think that because of our background, it doesn't surprise me that you're thriving in that lens, right? Because I do think about that in the future. One day, I think I will love to have a team. I think it would be great to work with younger agents. I think that that's where my skill set is. I've been very much enjoy, working with collegians and things like that. So I do think that there's a future there. I just think at this moment with where I'm at, it makes a lot of sense for this year, for things to come. And I think that there's a lot of cool future opportunities. And I'm also, very blessed. I think that I talk about this, like the $2.5 million deal that I just closed last month, like is going to be a game changer for my business, just getting into that market, but also realizing it was no different of a transaction than the house that I'm closing next week on, in Canton for 300,000, right? So it's all sort of the same thing. I completely hear what you're saying. And I think that it's something that I'm always thinking and evaluating, but also having conversations with my team, right? I think that that's the piece of, at the end of the year last year, we had some really good conversations. And so I definitely think
And I shared that not because I'm the man, but because I wasn't closing 40 deals when I decided to do that. And you're way ahead of me. That's really my premise there.
But we have no, I know. But what I'm saying is that it's helpful for me to be able to see also though someone that is doing that. And also I think it's so unique. Whereas like Maryland and New Jersey are so different in how real estate transactions work. I didn't realize how different they were until my best friend Moss and his wife bought a house up in Jersey, and I was talking to them about it, and I was like, actually, I don't have anything to say because this is totally not how it's done down in Maryland. So
Yeah.
it's just unique to see how it works. But I appreciate you sharing that point 100%.
I feel like you're too humble to to not make that jump. I feel like that's where Jake and I both have a certain level of, I guess, arrogance, and that it's like, yeah, I can do this without anyone, and doing it that way. So I think that's a good character trait that you have.
It's not. Yeah, I'm definitely arrogant. So don't get me wrong. I'm not denying
See, I
that.
don't see that about you. That's interesting.
Well, thank you. Dylan likes to call that out a lot. So maybe I'm just thinking it. But I think that I realized through my career that no one knows what they're doing. So why not be the person in charge? Like everyone's figuring it out. Even with, I'm not a parent, but with parenting, parents always say that. There's no handbook to, to be a mom, but you figure it out. And so why not be the person to make the decisions and be the leader?
Absolutely. And I think I think that that's part of how I got by the first year and a half, right? One, you don't know what you don't know, but you fake it till you make it. And not that I was giving wrong information, but it's like, it's all right. Maybe at this moment I don't have an answer to your question or something like that. But no, I completely resonate and hear what you're saying for sure.
And to flow into the next topic, what got you to 17 million being on the team is probably what got you there. But to get you to 40 million could be something different, and it probably is something different. So that, it's the level up, and that's when I was leaving a team, which happened about a year ago now. I was on a team for a year and a half, and I was like, I'm paying these guys so much money. And I was like, you know what? Let me just take that next step and level up and go off on my own and figure it out. And then it ended up kind of working out. And I think, obviously not to pitch you on that, but yeah, that's
Well, no, I
just my
think
experience.
my old boss, Carly, who was the director of Greek life at Towson when I left, she now does social media full time, and she is crushing it in a way that we didn't even know was possible, right? And so we were always talking about, well, what does our futures look like? And I think that just even being in real estate, the future is going to be different opportunities with investing because you have a little bit more, or thinking about ways of getting those rental properties. I never even thought that I'd be able to get a beach house one day, which sounds silly, but like, I would love to get something small in Ocean City to be able to use, for clients or things like that. So I just think I think that there's a lot of areas of growth, but also figuring out ways that it makes sense for me.
I think, Taylor, you have so many leadership qualities too. I mean, I can tell, I've known you, but I can just tell, here. You said a line that I love, and I've used a similar line, but you said this like back in the beginning of this episode about being emotionally intelligent. And I love saying this, but it's in a world of artificial intelligence, it's the emotionally intelligent people that are going to be leaders in this world. And it is obvious that you are that.
And I'm a firm believer that is what is probably the most important thing. I think that's also why a lot of agents fail. And so the best book that I'm a big learner. I just coming from education. Also with the bridge being down, I sit in traffic a lot, so I've been crushing audiobooks. Sales EQ is the best book that I recommend to anyone that's in sales, because
Are
it really
those
just not.
two letters, E and Q?
Yep. So it's just sales and then EQ, but it's not a real estate book, and it's solely just about like, how does this show up in your life? And I think that I learned a lot in the sense of like, for marketing too. I think a lot of marketing is emotional intelligence and also being able to tap in at key things. So
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to dive a little bit deeper into the external things besides being just a realtor, do you think that there are other business opportunities now that you've kind of stretched beyond, um, I guess almost like the solo capacity of whatever a solo realtor can kind of do on their own, hiring a sewing assistant, doing all this sort of stuff. Once you kind of build that out, I've seen this happen firsthand with Jake, where you become like addicted to like building things. And it's like you want to
I thought you were
now
going to say a
build something up.
dictator. I thought you were about to say a dictator.
I'm
Same
not
thing.
that mean to you. But you become addicted to building things. Building things being a real estate portfolio, a business, or another business. So is that also the
Yeah.
thought where it's in the future?
Yeah, and it's a really great timing, because on Monday I was having a really long conversation with Carly, and so her and I would love to do something together one day. And I think that one of the things that we're really focusing on is like speaking engagements, and being able to, with her having, building her platform to almost 500,000 followers, talking about the power of, branding and network. I think that will be something that we would love to do, and going back to the university and being something that we would be able to speak, but also then where could that transition into? So my mind has opened up to like the possibilities are endless, which sounds like very cheesy, but I completely agree. I'm it's also why I work all the time, is because I'm hungry. Like I feel this internal level of motivation that I never knew was possible. And so yes, absolutely. But I think that the other thing that's really unique right now is with, especially at Jake and I's age, like so many of our friends they're starting businesses or certain things. So I think there'll be other opportunities to be potential investors in a startup or something that, because I've actually, have money saved a little bit here and there, I'm able to do that. And before I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I think there'll be just opportunities that I could be at the table for if I wanted to, in the future.
So I love
You're
that.
speaking the language right
Yeah,
now. This
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
I'm licking my chops.
But
Let's
here's
go.
what I can't get, but I can't understand how you can close 40 deals in a year, which is like triple what I close, and think that way. Like I'm super impressed, but I leave myself open for thinking of what we just talked about, like business opportunities, because I'm only closing 15 deals in a year.
Yeah. Well, but I think it's about, again, I think it's about uh, working smarter. And so finding out ways that I can buy back my time has been the best thing, or things that I were doing that I was able to pass off, and just getting comfortable with that, and just doing things that I don't need to be doing. It sounds silly, but like paying someone to come to every 2 weeks to clean my house, like, do I need to do that? No, but that's better serving my time that I would be spending on a Sunday afternoon cleaning rather than there. So there's always more time in the day. It's also just a matter of like, how do I want to be spending that time?
So what are some other I want to dive deeper into that, because I'm on pace to close about 36 deals this year, and there's bits and pieces where I'm like feeling really busy and really overwhelmed, and then maybe that's just a sign of a streaky realtor business. But then there's also times where I'm not busy. So I have kind of the downtime to fill in the gaps of all the other things. But what are some of those things that you've hired out besides the cleaning, I guess, within your business specifically, that has helped you buy back your time?
Yeah, there's two things. One has been social media, and so I think that social media is probably the most important thing. I need to be doing more of it. I would like to do more of it, and so we've hired someone to help with doing some of the filming and editing, because sometimes I'll be like, did I just spend an hour and a half editing this video that's going to get 200 views? So that's been really helpful, of like just feeling like I'm getting the best use out of my time. But then we also do pop buys, which each quarter we'll try to do something differently. Done. I did pies at Thanksgiving. We just did coolers, things like that. We gave out like little 6-pack things. We did a pool thing once for clients that had pools. So paying someone on my team to be like, hey, can you go deliver these 25 things? I just mailed out to all my clients in March lottery tickets, like wishing you a lot of luck. Paying someone to just address the labels and do all those things I would have done. I did last year myself, but then I was like, that's going to take me a lot of time, so let's try to
Nice.
pass that off. But it's getting comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable. I still need to get more comfortable with letting go, because mistakes are going to happen, and I need to be okay with that.
Yeah. So first off, Dylan, you're not closing 36 deals this year. What the hell?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's
I
like
had-
it's like a player hitting a home run in the first game and saying they're on pace to hit 162 home runs.
I think I can. My goal is 30, but right now I have 9 deals under contract and closed total for the year.
And
Are
we're
you
March.
tracking? What do you use to track your data? Do you use do you use a platform at all? So like, are you tracking like activities or things that you're doing for your business?
Yeah, so through Jake's wife Meg, through like her company Next Management, they have like a kind of a system that is able to track everything that I see on occasion. Besides that, it's Google Sheets.
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing to track everything.
So we use Sisu, and it's something it's a game changer. So our CRM is wonderful, but this is something that I use every morning for tracking my activity. So I track my conversations, how many real estate conversations that I have each day, and you're able to see month by month. And the month that I've not focused on my activities as much, it's a direct correlation of where it sort of goes. So it's really helpful to sort of have that data for myself to sort of know what are areas that I need to be sort of focusing on, and just keep myself in line.
Do you see that direct correlation be of that month, or like in 3 or 6 months?
Yeah, so it'll be like, all right, I noticed in the spring, I really focused on my activities. So in the summer, I had more closings, or I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I was really, so it's like a couple months sort of down. Luckily, I'm pretty consistent. I think that's where I'm strongest, is my conversations, because I'm not necessarily reaching out to people about real estate, but it just leads to that. So I take everyone's, I use what they post. So if you've posted something that's a really big component of life, got a new job, having a baby, that's like everyone right now. But like there's always something. Instead of commenting on it, I take that post and I directly send it to them and then send them a message and then we engage sort of back and forth.
See, this is
Um,
amazing. This is what you're so much better than me at for sure, and probably Dylan too. Like I don't really play that game. And this is where I have an internal struggle of like, what am I? Am I a realtor? Am I an investor? Am I property management? What, or am I something I don't know that exists yet? And I sort of cut myself off at like where I'm at, right? My 15 or so deals per year is really exciting for me. I'm happy for it. I'm a solo agent. I'm capping, so I get all 100%. I love that amount of money. And I sometimes don't do the showings. Like, I love what I've got going on. And I sort of struggle about, should I grow? And if so, how? Do I want to be interacting with people, even though they're not quite random? They're sort of in my sphere. Do I want to force, I'll put force in quotes, them to think about real estate? Like, I more so just want people to come to me. And that's my challenge.
Yeah, that's why I refuse to bring up real estate in the initial piece of it,
Yeah.
right? It's really just showing up in a way that's like, congratulations, like I'm so excited for you, or whatever it sort of may be. The other thing that I really try to do is I just buy things in bulk. So I don't spend money on leads, but I spend money on special occasions for when people have nice things. So I bought in the same stupid crab that like crawls all around that on the ground that I will mail out to clients. It's like very cheap, but I'll mail that out to them. I bought a Towson kids book. I bought like 50 of them in bulk. And so whenever someone from Towson is having, a kid or something, trying to get them that book. So focusing on ways that it, I think you would just be fine if you started doing some of that.
If I want to, that's more of a challenge. Like, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it sounds like you have the systems and the capacity to do 40 deals a year. That sounds terrible to me.
Yeah.
I do not want to do 40 deals in a year. So
It's,
that's my challenge.
I always joke, but it's also probably why I went to 14 weddings last year. Right. So like, and I've got lots this year. So I'm actually officiating Adam Burkowitz's wedding,
No
in
way.
June.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
That's great.
and utilizing these birthday parties for kids or weddings, those been the best things. Get a drink in me, and I'm a delight. So I'll make friends with every uncle and under the sun.
That's the way it is. It's just the outgoing. It's the outgoingness of it, and it's not being that guy that shoves it in your face as a
Exactly.
realtor.
Or try not to, at
Um,
least.
yeah, right. So when you say conversations with these types of people are obviously the I guess the driving. What is like? I know you were saying time blocking prior. If you were to time block this driving force, what is the title of it, and like what are you doing for that time?
Yeah, so I refer to as lead gen, right? So my calendar is blocked every morning. I'm a morning person. I get up, go to the gym, come home, and that's my time to sort of do it. And it's also my time to sort of catch up on social media, see where everyone's sort of at, and then figuring out other ways to sort of do it. I will then, we all do open houses and things like that. So I try to then when it makes the most sense, follow up with people or try to do something that's value added. So conversations happens every day for me. Every single day, I try to do at least 5, sending out something that is authentic and not just trying to check a box that's actually that they've posted or whatever's going on, or engage in a conversation with them. I mean, I was just talking to someone the other day. I don't mean to laugh, but Nancy Guthrie is missing. And so we were talking back and forth. And then they said, well, change the topic. How's life for you? And then we got into it, right? So it just led to me responding to their story about something.
Hmm. So I guess the main thing with that is more of just like a question for selfishly, because whenever I have like those lead gen time, right? Okay, yes, I had an open house the following weekend. I can call those people that came and just check in and see that. I can go on social media. I can DM people and interact with my sphere. Or I go on a Mojo dialer and I call a certain area. There's so much that you can do. So it's specifically, do you have like this is exactly what I need to do. I need to go on social media for 35 minutes. I need to call through my whole entire contacts for 14 minutes. Like what is the thing?
To me, it's different every day. I really think it's a matter also of like what my sort of day looks like. The days that I'm a little bit more free or have a little bit more free time, I'm less like anxious. So I'm able to spend sort of more time doing that. But on the days where like, all right, I've since a bunch of my conversations out, I've got more time. LinkedIn's been really great on the way that they've changed, their algorithm and the way they're doing things. So I'll spend time just going and trying to find people that I can connect with that I know. I don't just randomly send, connect to people. It's only they know me from Towson, Rutgers, whatever it may be, and building that because then I post everything that I post on Facebook, my Facebook business goes on LinkedIn, and I've generated some good business from LinkedIn.
I've been using LinkedIn. I don't know if you've noticed, Taylor. I don't know if we have each other on LinkedIn. I've been using
I think we do.
LinkedIn as the opposite of what most people do. I posted this week a video of me eating a Chipotle burrito on LinkedIn
Smart.
because is it smart? I don't know. But
I think it is.
there's so much AI on LinkedIn. So that's my place to be myself in my head. Has it come what comes of it? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's stuff. I don't know. I can't directly relate that to sales, but that's how I'm taking it.
I also I think what just it's engaging, right? So it's something that's different. That's kind of
Yeah.
it's that's sort of that click piece of it. But also like I think something on the data piece that I need to do better at is especially now that I'm lucky that I am working with people that I don't necessarily know, and I've gotten a lot of business from doing social media. Someone just moved here from Utah that found one of my TikTok videos. I need to get better at asking like, where did you find me or how like that. My biggest fear is like, I saying like, oh, where did you find me? They're like, dude, I was your student so many years
Yeah,
ago. Like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
yeah,
Like, I'm so like, that's where my head goes. But I think for
yeah.
myself, it'd be really helpful to be like, all right, this came from LinkedIn, whatever it may be. But that just comes with getting comfortable.
Dylan, I don't want to end this conversation. I'm really
I
enjoying it.
I know, I don't wanna end it either. I know, this, and when we were kinda, like, talking about it, I was just like, after looking at your email that you sent with all the in-depth of, like, the things you got going on, I was like, we're just gonna totally geek out about real estate for which is something we don't get to do that often just because we talk with
And
more
it's
just
fun. I think that's what's kind of fun is actually just being able to talk about, the commonalities of it all and hearing things that you all do, which is different than I do. So that's what's really great about this business is there's always things that we can learn from each other or just do something differently.
Yeah, and then when you get to the point, maybe you have your own team or you're solo or you partner with the team you're on and still there, whatever it is, we want to have you back on to see what's changed and what's progressed,
Yes,
right?
I also look forward to watching you guys grow your show. I think it's awesome that you're doing something like this, and it's a great avenue. So you should be proud of yourselves for what you guys have created.
Thank you. We have some really
thank you.
cool guests upcoming. We're booked for the next like 4 months, maybe 5 now,
Yeah.
once per
That
week.
speaks volumes of what you all are doing, though. The fact that you're that far booked out.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, we'll, yeah, we'll end it here, but yeah, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yes. Well, one, thank you for having me on. It's really great talking with you both. Everyone can find me on social media at Selling Sevik. Toss me a follow, please.
Love it.
Selling
Selling
Sevik. Love it.
Civic. I'm
Awesome.
guessing you're a big Selling Sunset fan.
I do love me some reality TV. I'm ready for
Me too.
cameras to be picked up here in Baltimore. So one day, that'll be a good goal one day, get me on reality TV.
I strongly prefer Selling OC. Selling Sunset's gotten a little less real estatey and more
I agree.
catty. Yeah, not. I was into it, but now, I mean, Christine's coming back next season though, and that's
I
exciting.
really like owning Manhattan right now.
That's the
that's
best one. That's the best
yeah,
one.
that's one I enjoy because I feel like it's actually real estate.
It's real. Yeah, it's like real. Yeah.
I'm not tapped into any of it, so I gotta get in and learn a little
Happily
bit more.
provide you a great list of reality shows to spend your time watching.
Sounds like a plan. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Follow along to the More Smarter Show.
Only if you like it.